buck when it comes to time spent on the farm. So, Jeff, I don't know if you have any other introduction, but really excited for this. A lot of big changes in this deck, and yeah, exciting times to be thinking about making farming great again. I love the campaign slogan.
Exactly. This is very exciting to be able to revisit a lot of these systems and kind of think about, how can they better apply to, our both our current users and what is the better new user experience as well. So we've examined a lot of the stuff in the game and made some decisions and are excited to share some of our ideas about what the great rebalance looks like. As just to note that while some of these decisions we do feel like we have to make, a lot, we still want your feedback and you know, very little is finalized or set in stone. So after this, please give us feedback and we'll definitely review it and take it into consideration.
Absolutely. And the plan here is we'll do this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in Twitch chat and we'll try to take them on the fly. And then we're going to upload this to an unlisted video on YouTube so that people who missed this will be able to go back and watch it very easily, open up a thread in the feedback section, and then we'll be monitoring this over the next couple days and answering questions and that kind of stuff. So a little bit of a hybrid format where it's a video first, and then we're going to move into the thread to make sure folks have plenty of time to engage and digest all of this. So, per usual, let's start with some key highlights here.
Yeah. So the first thing, we've heard a lot about how maintaining all of the lands is just taking, a lot of time. And now that we're on the verge of adding, new gameplay modes that will take time as well, we want to kind of reduce the amount of time it takes to maintain your farm. So um, our changes are going to involve fewer clicks that you need to do, and you're going to get, the same rewards or more rewards. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Secondly, taking a look at how quests have been done so far, we are going to kind of change quests and add a new collections mechanic so that quests will be easier to do, easier to identify what's worth doing, and you're going to get some pretty big rewards out of that. The third is better new user experience. We want to new players getting into the game to be able to play the game for a while, check everything out, and not be gated by not having as many materials or the timers being too long for them. So there's going to be a lot for new players to do on day one once they enter the game after this rebalance. And then finally, we're adding mythic and rare land utilities where um, mythic and rare lands will have access to quests that common lands don't. So if you own mythic or rare lands, be on the lookout for special quests on your quest boards.
Awesome. So let's dive into the details. I know a lot of people are excited about the last one with Mythic and Rare Land having some distinct utility that sets them apart, aside from just the working with all the classes and stuff. So high level stuff here, and glad to see a few familiar faces in Twitch chat. Thanks for joining us here on Twitch at the last moment, folks. But first change here, one that I'm very excited about: no more 24-hour breeding and evolution timers. Faster breeding and evolving, so that you can just do it. There's no longer a time gate. Before, we were worried about unicorn inflation, right? And that made sense at the beginning when markets are going crazy and you don't want things to just rush to the top too quickly. You got to put some time gates on it. Now things have changed a little bit, and we've got Twilight Tactics coming where unicorns will be able to die. So we've got levers on both sides, and that means we're way less afraid of runaway unicorn inflation. And, for the breeders out there, this is like, hey, if you want to come in and breed a bunch of unicorns, spend some resources, burn a couple tokens, we would love to have you. And now this is perfect for newcomers where they can speed up their progress a bit more, whereas all of us that have been playing for a while, we're slowed down a little bit by this time gate. So this one is pretty straightforward, Jeff, but I think this is the perfect time for a change like this. Let's get some new unicorns hatched and evolved.
Exactly. This is an example of something, where we had an idea when we launched the game of how things would be, and now, again, re-examining, decisions and assumptions we made earlier on and changing them. So this was a pretty easy decision to make for sure.
All right. Getting smarter and not harder. Talk to us about this change in cycles. We've got a lot here with seeds, berries, gathering time. Talk us through this one.
So, like farming, which we'll discuss later, gathering right now it's once a day, but again, we want players to feel like they don't necessarily need to come back and check on all their gathers every day. So, um, lower levels will start at a lower time, but as you level up your cart, that timer gets larger, but so do the rewards. Your Unum and the Unum jackpots are gonna scale with the time of gathers, so that by level 10, it'll take 3 days to gather, but your rewards will be, more, 3x or more. In addition, with uh, uh, with gem crafting coming out, we want gathering to be a source of some gem materials that you could use to craft, and we want gatherers to fund kind of other modes in the game. So besides seeds, which will help you farm and craft seed bags, we want gatherers to have a chance to drop jousting tickets, quest scrolls, and any new gameplay loop we add in the future. Gathering will be a chance to get an input for those loops. Um, so that's kind of our long-term vision. It'll still give some Unum, but we wanted to add this additional aspect of gathering as like, here, help us deliver, stuff you need to go play in the different loops.
So, a couple of key elements here. There's now maybe a little bit more of a jackpot type feeling because there's just more diversity in gathering cart loot. So, you might stumble upon a jousting ticket and you might, wow, an advanced ticket. That was actually a pretty good find. That's the equivalent of whatever they're going for, on the RBW that day. And then because these are longer timers, now we've got slightly larger jackpots starting to creep back. That's something we've heard the community talk about a lot, that jackpots are really fun and exciting. And that's a dopamine hit that some people chase. So trying to tap more into things that feel a little bit like that while also not going back to inflating Unum too much. But the key takeaway here is less frequent gathering, but the same or more rewards and the chance for more diverse rewards. So this should
Exactly.
make gathering feel like less of a grind and also reward you as you level up your gathering cart. So those of you with the level 10 cart will still be positioned the best of everyone else, including those with the level 9.
Definitely.
All right, so some crafting adjustments here, and this is a big one. So we're going to go through this one a little bit slowly because there's a lot of changes. But Jeff, maybe kick us off here with talking about the daily and weekly quests and some of these speedy crafty times.
When we first started talking about this, uh, the Great Rebalance, we want to say, okay, what is the goal for a player coming into Crypto Unicorns? And we ended up landing on, daily quests, daily and weekly quests being kind of your daily goal. You can do stuff on top of those, but we imagine that you come in, you do everything, but your kind of daily goal is to complete your daily quests. And so to effectively do that, we want to make it easier to craft what you need to do those quests. So um, we're looking at you know what in the workshop, like there's a lot of crafting recipes that take a couple hours, several hours, and that's just not doable. Like if you're coming into the game and you want to do a certain quest, you almost have a very low chance to actually craft it and complete it on that day. You'd have to go buy it on the RMP. We want to change that, so we've identified some items that are used in quests often that we want all players to be able to craft within, a session or definitely several times within a day. They can then go and use and try and complete quests, and those will be lowered to between 15 minutes to an hour. Um, Whereas other items that aren't really used for quests as much, or will no longer be used for quests, but are used elsewhere that we want to kind of keep the depth for, we'll probably keep those crafting times the same. Um, but yeah, this is mainly to ensure that all players, new and old, can craft their way to completing quests every single day.
Gotcha. So we can see pretty clearly on the right side lower crafting times for tier 1 class items, tier 2 class and building items, quest scrolls, and tier 1 gem materials. All of those will be an hour or less. But crafting times that are staying the same, we've got the tier 3 boosters and building items, tier 2 gem materials, boosters, and tribe materials. So the late game stuff, the heavy stuff will still take some time, but now your early acceleration is a little bit more possible. So as you can see, this is something that Mitch has brought up several times is our sessions need to have a balance of more active gameplay that also doesn't feel like a grind, because for the regular players, right, they want to be able to set it and forget it to some degree. But if you're a brand new player, that first session of just a couple minutes where you plant a few seeds and then come back later isn't nearly as engaging. So this at least opens up that ability to have like an hour-long session and be able to make progress on whichever thread that you want, without forcing players that are closer to the late game into that same category of having to craft every 15 minutes.
Exactly. And, unlike farming and gathering where you're just you're really not making a decision for the most part. With crafting and with questing, you really are making decisions as to what is the best way to complete the quest, which quest I want to complete, and that will inform your decisions with crafting as well.
Okay, so onward to seed and berry adjustments. This is another big one. So um, take this one step at a time. Current plan is to have seeds and berries exit the RMP. And this is really important because it gives us a lot more flexibility for that early game progression, right? If we're too generous with seeds and berries too early on and they're too easy to get, then there's a lot of sell pressure and it becomes something that folks can kind of abused with a lot of new accounts. But this one, Jeff, when you first brought it up, I hadn't even thought about this before, but I'd love to hear you talk through the seeds and berries exiting the RMP here, because I think it does
Yeah.
make sense and opens up more potential in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, from day one, we were never able to have a starting inventory that exceeded bundle sizes in RMP because we knew that someone could come in, spin up a new wallet, and just sell it. So having seeds and berries exit the RMP helps us really fund new players with enough uh, seeds so that they could farm for days, even weeks, without running out, and kind of making sure that lack of seeds is not a gate for them. And with berries, making sure they have enough so they could do some crafting, do some questing, do some breeds and evolution on day one. It really lowers barriers for new players while minimizing opportunities for abuse. Now, obviously, um, players could spin up a wallet and will have enough berries to do a breeder evolution. But at the very least, even if they do that, they're still sinking Unum, they're still sinking RBW.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a win for us in that case as well because it's not extractive. Um, but we do recognize that people may need to buy seeds and berries. So we are um, adding quests that are permanent where you could trade in RBW at a price that we're going to set for seeds and berries so that, if you are out of seeds and you need some quickly, or if you need just a few more berries, you can go there and spend RBW to buy berries like before. We're just removing the extracted element of it so that we can provide players with a better new user experience.
Hmm.
Um, we are also adding tier 3 class items. We feel that uh, given the restrictions on crafting those, and given how difficult it could be, um, we kind of want to, for players who are a little farther in but find that they can't progress because they just can't get certain tier 3 class items. We're allowing them to be purchased on the RMP now, and especially with gem and tribe materials requiring tier 3 class items, there's going to be more demand for those. So we are going to add those to the RMP as we remove seeds, berries, and then uh, we could discuss the class items and boosters in a bit.
Mm, yeah. A little teaser here. The tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 boosters also removed. Um, so here we go. Tier 1 item and booster adjustments. Talk us through this part as well. And this is connected obviously to the last one. And I think we've spent a lot of time chatting in Discord, at least on my side, more about, hey, when should we add tier 4, 5, 6 boosters to the RMP? And this is sort of the other direction where we're taking more things off that are booster related. So yeah, would just love to hear you kind of talk us through that, Jeff.
So, given that we're significantly lowering crafting times for lots of items, if we kept tier 1 items in, that would, um, get too extractive. We'd see a problem with RBW. So it made sense for us to remove tier 1 items from the RMP, but because they're going to take a lot less time to craft, players who need them should be able to craft a lot of them fairly quickly by being more engaged in the game. With the boosters, we felt comfortable removing them because one, it's all about tier 6. That's where all the serious breeders um, are using them. But for new players, you know, or just players in general, being able to hand out a low tier boosters as a reward for quests or things without worrying about them being extracted just gives us more to work with, and we'll still be giving out higher tier boosters for sure, but we just felt like the tier 1 to tier 3 boosters weren't really serving a purpose in the RMP, and now with them out of it, we can start handing those out in addition to the tier 4, 5, and 6 boosters.
I see. So if, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but in kind of like simple sort of layman terms, when we remove stuff from the RMP, then we don't have to be quite as concerned about the inflation of that thing because it's not an extraction path. But when it is on the RMP, then we have to be kind of careful about the emissions, so to speak, or how they're distributed, or how generous we can be with early quests and things that help newer players close the gap a little bit. Um, that's kind of the trade off that we're dealing with here. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's oh, the one of the difficulties of developing a game in this space is that anything that could be extractive is going to hinder your designs inherently, because something that you feel is best for the game or best for the player, you can't do because it's going to upend your economy. So, um, yeah, the RMP has been incredible, but it definitely has also affected a lot of decisions we made, and so this is why we're kind of uh, um, proposing some of these changes in the Great Rebalance.
And in terms of adding things like tier 3 class items, right now we have this kind of cool little loop where you can work on getting star berries all week, sell them during the weekend when there's this spike in demand because there's a bunch of stars jousting, right? And there's a lot of little spots like that in the economy where you can find arbitrage and go, oh, this is spiking because of this time thing. I'm going to craft these items and sell them. I know some people were doing that with jousting tickets at various times. Like, wow, advanced tickets are popping off. This is like the thing that I'm crafting so that I can get some RBW to buy the other various ingredients that I need. You'll still be able to do that. It's more just concentrated towards these higher end items. So instead of just exiting on the tier 1 or tier 2 boosters or the seeds and berries, now you'll need to use those resources, craft strategic tier 3 items that will also have demand because they're used in really important useful stuff. So there's still like a supply chain loop there that you can use in the RMP. It's just moved a little further down the supply chain. So now you have to do a little bit more gameplay and execute a little more strategy before you can just start selling stuff. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong with any of that, but I
No,
think that's, yeah.
you've summarized it perfectly. Like it's not that we're against extraction, but we want to make sure that a lot of effort was put in to what is being sold for, the RBW. In the case of like the tier 3 class items, there's work being done to make those. So players making those and selling those perfectly fine because the work has been put in. Whereas things that are like passive or set and forget it, that's can't say a lot of work has been done for that.
Yeah.
So to allow players to sell those again at the cost of the new user experience, no less, um, you know, it just it just hindered us from a lot of things we wanted to do.
Gotcha. Um, cool. So increased jousting rewards, and this makes sense, right? Now we're adding more variety to jousting loot boxes. Now that seeds and berries are something that we want to make sure you have access to, they're going to be included in these jousting rewards, guaranteed, right? The different tiers will now have a guaranteed amount of seeds and berries that are included.
Yes, to kind of um, add more kind of reasons to do more active loops, and again trying to put more value into active loops versus passive loops. We are um, going to put seeds and berries into jousting rewards, potentially other items too, um, as we kind of are mapping out the elder game economy. But yeah, the idea is that when you joust, whether you advance or not to later rounds, we want you to walk away with something that's like, okay, I've gotten some value here. So right now, we're just talking about seeds and berries. There may be other stuff added to jousting gift boxes as well. But this is like if you're low on seeds or berries and you don't want to spend the RBW in the store to buy them, but you need some, pretty quickly. Jousting is a way for you to get some fairly quickly.
All right. A little poop goes a long way. I like this one a lot. Less scooping and more reaping. This is really exciting for folks that have a lot of land plots, regardless of rarity. Just having a high number will maximize your poops. And now unicorn poops are going to be giving out a much larger prize. So instead of the like, hey, thanks for the 1 or 2 seeds, maybe I got a poop scroll. These are going to become sort of a regular part of your daily login. I liked how it's written here: the daily seed supplier coming from the poops.
Yeah, so with the changes that we're going to discuss with farming, going to be on longer timers potentially, um, and not being able to buy seeds in the RMP, um, it may become hard for players to get seeds that they need to do the farming. And so um, we were looking at a couple different options, and considering kind of what dev work was involved. But our solution was to kind of rely on Unicorn Poop to kind of be that daily funding of seeds to players so that they could um, do the farm loop, which connects to all the other loops. And so each day we're going to increase the poop timer to 24 hours, increase the rewards, as well. And so each day you come in, um, if it's been 24 hours since the last poop, you're going to get your daily rewards there. Um, uh, we want to reduce the amount of times you have to look for poop, but make sure that you're getting all that you would and more with each collection. And this also benefits players with 16 lands because that's 16 poops a day versus if you only had, 4 or 5 or 6 lands or whatever.
Right. I like this one a lot because I do like picking up my unicorn poop, and I think it's a really cool thing that was added in. But I have always felt like, man, even when I hit the poop scroll, I still need a bunch of them, and they're so rare that I almost never get to cash them in. So I'm looking forward to making this part of my daily routine, the hunt for fresh poops. All right.
Exactly.
Massive quest refactor. Talk us through this one because this is big and it also leads into our next concept right after this. So questing is getting truly a massive overhaul here.
So one issue that has been raised a couple times, and that we've seen for ourselves is that with the variance of the quests, the different quests and different quest boards, and the different value proposition for each quest, that's a lot of information for players to tackle. Having to go through each quest board to see kind of not only what quests are there, but of the quests that are there, which is worth doing. And we kind of want to just take away all that work from the players' side. So we're going to be streamlining a lot of the quests so that um, the economics is going to be a lot closer between each quest. You're not going to see the wide variance like you do now. Um, they're going to be more focused around classes. So you're going to have each quest is going to be associated with the class, and that's what the rewards are for. That's what the rewards you get is based on that class, and the inputs will be affected as well. And then we're going to reduce the amount of daily quests per day so that you just don't have so many to choose from to make it easier to decide which ones to do. And for weekly quests, we're going to reduce those, but make those quest chains. So that way you have a weekly quest, you have 7 days to do it. You could definitely easily do one within a week, but can you complete the whole chain in a week? That's going to be the new challenge. But the point is, there's going to be fewer quests, but they're going to be more focused, and it's going to be easier to determine what you want to do because all of them are going to be fairly similar in their value proposition. And in general, more quest completion is just going to be better for you. To talk about the rewards, each quest will reward a class gift box, which we'll go through in the next slide. Gem and tribe materials and RBW.
Okay. So if you're thinking, wow, questing is going to get a little bit too simple, here we go. Oop, there we go. Sorry about that. My browser froze for a second. Introducing collections. This is where the class gift boxes come in on these quest completions, and the daily and weekly quests will be there to help you earn these and see if you can complete the whole set. Jeff, talk us through the collections, kind of the motivation behind it, and this new layer on top of questing.
So when we talked about organizing each quest so they're class based, we wanted to kind of lean into the class aspect of it, and we thought, um, what will motivate players to pursue certain quests versus others? Is it just about the individual quest rewards? Well, that doesn't seem as exciting. Um, so we thought of, well, what about collections? So um, collections are a kind of quest where you turn in a certain amount of of a collection item, and you will get much larger rewards than you would get in any single quest. So for example, turning in 25 of the Omnom collection items gives you, a tier 6 booster, some rare codex pages, and a lot of Unum, something like that. Those aren't final numbers. But like, so now every time you do a quest, I mentioned you'd get a class gift box. opening the class gift box will give you uh, some seeds, berries, or items of that class, but it'll also give you a collection item of that class. And each class will have two different collection items, a more common one and a more rare one. And as you're doing quests, you're going to get these class gift boxes and get these collection items. So that over time, as you're doing quests, eventually you'll be able to complete a collection and get these huge rewards. So the new quest meta is going to be which collections do you want to complete, and that will inform you as to which quests you should look out for. So if you want to complete the Omnom collections, you would search out Omnom quests. If you want to, um, so you will want to do all the collections at the end of the day, but at least you'll have choices as to which ones you want to focus on based on which quests are available. And that's the thing. The more quests you do, the better, because that's just more collection items that you're building up day after day after day of questing.
Got it. So it's almost like this next layer. You've got weekly, you've got daily, and then kind of after weekly now, there's the collections that aren't as time sensitive, but when you get the full set, it's like collecting all the stamps or something. Then you're able to get this disproportionately large, like major reward at the end because there will be like a little bit of RNG to this, right? It's the different roles of the different quests, so you might not get the perfect the perfect set right away. So you have to kind of keep coming back, and eventually you'll end up in these. Damn it! I just need one more, but you're waiting for the time that you get that. Again, do I have that like kind of correct? Is that
Yep, that's absolutely correct.
yeah, cool. So a different type of chase when it comes to quests. And of course, collections are optional, right? You can choose not to chase the collections and just ignore it. But if you do happen to get the full set, then the incentive is getting that juicy reward at the very end. So, all right, we talked about the poops being great for people with a lot of lands. Now let's talk about folks that have less land but prioritize the rare and the mythic instead, and kind of the new perks you're going to find that don't exist on the common lands.
Yeah, so with this update, rare and mythic lands will have a chance to spawn quests that you can get in common lands. These again will be class based, will give out the same rewards, just more of them, or potentially higher rarity when it comes to gem and tribe materials. Um, it uses the same weight system, so it uses the same weight system, so you may still see quests. Like if you have a mythic land and you have a quest board on it, you still may get quests that common lands get, but you'll have a chance to get, a rare quest or a mythic quest. In the case of rare lands, you're not going to see any. You're not going to see any mythic quests, or quests that can be rolled for mythic lands, but you could see quests that can be rolled for rare lands and common lands. So the higher rarity land that you have a chance to get these new quests, and these quests are just going to have better rewards um, per cost than what
Mm.
common
So
quests currently have.
that's a key thing there. It's not just quests with higher stakes, but it's actually quests with better rewards and better efficiency. Like the inputs relative to what you get back. The mythic quests will generally be the most desirable, assuming that you have the resources to do it. Do I have that part right?
Yep.
Cool. And one question that I saw pop up was about quest timers. Are we going to be changing the time it takes to do and complete these quests?
We be, we're not going to for the weekly quest, we're going to examine the timers based on how big we make the chains for the weekly quests.
Hmm.
It's still up in the air how long those chains are going to be. So obviously, if the chain is longer, we're going to make those quest timers shorter. The daily quests, we're going to not really touch, or in fact, maybe make the timers a little longer, because once you start the quest, like uh, you know, assuming that you're stats are high enough, um, there's only going to be one or two quests on the per quest board,
Hmm.
and we feel daily quests don't need shorter timers, but for the weekly quest chains, we may reduce the timer because it is a chain, and we want players to have enough time in the week
Right.
to finish the chain.
You got to give people some buffer. Have some sympathy for the family men out there. You know, the moms, the folks that are still working full time. Can't always catch every timer right on the dot. So I like that. You know, a little forgiveness there. One of the other questions that popped up. Does that mean exotic quests are pretty much going away? Is mythic the new exotic when it comes to questing?
So this is kind of, when you're doing designs, it's always kind of nice to use similar terminology. It's things that people understand. And, um, when we did, common, rare, mythic, exotic quest scrolls, we did have, the rarity in mind, but not necessarily how it matches up to a
Hmm.
land rarity. So for right now, I don't assume that all common quests will only use common quest scrolls. Um, I wouldn't put those two and two together. So we're still going to have the four types of quest scrolls. They're just not going to necessarily match with the land rarities.
I see. Okay, so it's similar terminology, but a mythic quest that's on a mythic land plot might still require an exotic scroll if it's one of the higher level ones or something. So exotic
And,
scrolls will
and we,
still be there and exotic quests will still be there. Yeah,
we may look into just changing the names of the scrolls so that's less
a little more
confusing. But
consistent. Okay.
yeah, because our current scroll structure was that the higher scroll, the more challenging it is to do, but the more rewards, and we want to keep that. Um, but yeah, so we're still kind of looking into how the organization fits in with the land, but it's not safe to assume that it'll be, you know,
Yeah,
common will only do common scrolls.
gotcha.
Um,
Okay. Um, all right. Awesome. Thank you for the clarity on some of that questing stuff. Uh, Pretty cool. All right, gang. So we're coming up towards the tail end here, and this last part is one of the big ones, and it's specifically one of the areas where I think we need the most input. And I think we've really distilled this down to two major options. Make farming great again would not be what it is if we weren't touching farm plots. So this is a big one, certainly a high priority, but there's some trade offs. So with that said, Jeff, let's walk through these. We'll talk about option one and option two, and then we'll be closer to the conclusion of this presentation, and the follow up conversation can kind of commence. So, okay, and if there's anything else you want to add to set the stage here about farming, this would be a great time.
so we definitely recognize the need for longer farming times so that you don't need to come back several times a day to do farming to feel like you're getting your value. At the same time, longer timers are not new player friendly. So um, we've tried to we've tried to uh, ride the balance between the two so that there can be quick farming that is less efficient and longer farming that is more efficient. The biggest thing that um, the biggest sticking point to this structure are the farm bonuses,
Mm,
specifically the output bonus. Time bonus is not as big of a factor here. If we go this route where you have more efficient 3-day farming with seed bags, we'd make seed bags much easier to craft so that it's really there really is not as big of a barrier for players who just want to use seed bags. They could craft them faster, and cheaper. So there's nothing stopping you from using them if you want the 3-day timer. Whereas if you just want to use a seed and have that quick timer, somehow it got omitted from the slide. by quick timer, we're thinking between 5 to 15 minutes. So that, again, a new player coming in,
Right.
not necessarily worried about efficiency, could spend seeds in one session, or if even veteran players who want to get berries fairly quickly, they could do a lot of fast plants and get those berries, on days when they're not collecting from their farms. We want that, but the current farm bonuses kind of put, as they are, kind of will prevent us from doing the fast timers. We um, so we have kind of two options. One is we allow um, the farm output bonus to be severely low, the cap to be severely lowered, so that's much lower than what it is now, so that the the fast farming won't be as lucrative as it would be if we kept the full bonus intact.
Hmm.
Um, if we go that route, we do have a plan that we can't necessarily get in place by the time this goes out, where um, uh, having only seed bags receive the bonus and not seeds, um, that would allow us to go through with this plan and still not dilute the bonuses that a lot of players have worked hard for. Um, Again, if we go this route, we would severely nerf the farm bonus temporarily until this patch comes out, and then once we're able to do this, seed bags would still use the bonus. In fact, we could raise the bonus because seed
Okay.
bags are 3 days long, and that allows for larger bonuses to be used without breaking the economy. Um, that is the first
And so to summarize the
option.
first one, basically making seed bags the meta, so to speak, in terms of efficiency. They take longer, so you don't have to check in as often, but give you a substantial bonus. And when we have this very short timer so that you can quickly get seeds, the issue we have with this one is that as they stand right now, the bonuses are a little bit out of whack and make that really hard to calibrate without really inflating a lot of seeds. So the solve for that would be a future promise that we'll be able to do more later on, but there's going to be a little gap here where the bonuses for those farm plots are subs- nerfed compared to what they have been. That takes us now to option two, which is something a little bit different. Walk us through plan B.
Option two would just be slow timers. So we'd keep seed bags at 3 days and be more efficient. Seeds would increase from 8 hours to 1 day, be less efficient, and the farm bonuses would remain the way they are right now and not be touched. This is less new player friendly. We do have um, ideas of how to help new players kind of catch up. If we go this route, we as a company would prefer option A, but we understand the disruption of the farm bonuses may not be popular or welcome. So we are considering this other option. Um, but yeah, either way, there's going to be a long timer for the more serious farmers to use to get the kind of berries that they're getting, but not have to do the maintenance for.
It
The question is how do we treat the shorter experience, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what we need to figure out.
Is it fair to say that we're going to be entering like a seed bag meta, that now it's going to shift where seed bags are kind of just the way to go unless you're for some reason really time sensitive?
That is the case. Our goal is that the majority of players will be using seed bags and just not click on the farms as much.
Hmm.
The shorter options, both in option A and option B, is either mainly for new players in the case of option A with the shorter timers, or for players who will just need berries every day and they can't don't want to, can't afford to wait the 3 days to get their output, or suddenly like
Hmm.
if requests came up that they need berries, but their timers aren't going to, land that day. Hopefully, get some
Yeah.
enough berries to complete that quest. Things like that. So we want to give people options between a shorter time and a longer time, but at the end of the day, make the longer time more efficient.
Gotcha. Um, Awesome. So, obviously, feedback is welcome for everything we've discussed, but this last part is one we'd really like to hear thoughts on. As Jeff said, if it were totally up to us and we were just making decisions, option A is where we lean, but really want to be respectful of those bonuses that some people worked for to roll exactly what they wanted. So we were hesitant to present that, like it was finalized. So please, dig into that part specifically. But that brings us to the end. That is the overview of Make Farming Great Again. A lot of changes, and I know some people joined us late and we're like, I missed the first slide. I missed the first slide. We've got it recorded. We're going to upload this right away, so you'll be able to rewatch and get caught up. Apologies for that. But Jeff, maybe just give us a quick high level here on the summary of kind of where we're at to get us wrapped up for the presentation part.
For sure. So first things first, with this change, we are putting new players in the best position possible by having them start out with a lot of seeds, berries, items that they can then use to farm, breed, evolve, craft, quest on day one, to really make that first day less have less friction and just let them play the game, enjoy the game with shorter timers. Secondly, we are really doing a quest refactor so that quests are simplified, the rewards are more straightforward, and we're adding in the new collections meta so that players have something to work towards to when completing quests. Um, we're making land management a lot more streamlined. Uh, Longer timers will let you spend less time maintaining your land and more time, giving you more time to go play the other loops. And finally, we are uh, giving adding more utility to rare and mythic lands by having quests be able to show up in the quest board in those lands that aren't available in common lands. That is a big sum of the Make Farming Great Again, Great Rebalance patch coming out next month. And again, most things here are not set in stone. There are some things that we feel like we have to do, but on the whole, um, we really want to get feedback and kind of get your thoughts on things. And looking forward to hearing that.
Absolutely. And honestly, the worst slide in the deck coming up next here. Questions. I guarantee we will have some follow up questions with all of that. So the answer, Jeff, is yes. um, Cool. So, normally with these past kind of reveals and stuff, we've stuck around and then tried to do some live questions. We can hang around here for another minute or two. I'm definitely late for my next call, so we also have a little bit of a time sensitive ending here. But again, the idea is we'll post this and then get a thread going. We want to make sure folks that weren't here right now or on a different time zone have a chance to at least watch this and engage in some of the conversation. Want to be sensitive to that for sure. That said, this is moving quickly. This is something that's going to happen fast. If you're like really excited or scared or nervous or whatever else about this, this weekend is a really great time to engage. Jeff, not to sign you up for too much work, but I think you and I are going to have a long weekend ahead of us engaging in these conversations and answering questions and stuff like that. So this is really important
Exactly.
stuff. This is like the future of the core game is on the line here. So some scary things, but overall we feel really confident about this direction. And yeah, let's get this thing tweaked and tuned up. And obviously we want folks internally to be jazzed about this, but we also want this to externally be a really big beat so we can blast out to the world. Hey guys, like farming is better. There was a massive overhaul to the game. Like if you felt like you missed the buck, this is your chance. Like come get caught up. You know, the great rebalance, the great reset. Once we get this out there, this will be something that hopefully can capture some of this energy and movement that's happening in the market right now as people are looking for blockchain games. So, Jeff, if you got anything else from my end, I think that's a pretty good spot to wrap it up.
No, I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback, and let's go make farming great again.
Yay. Well said. All right. Okay, so I cut our local recording. We're going step by step here. So Twitch, we're gonna say goodbye to you. Thank you everyone on Twitch. We've got the town hall on Discord now, so if you're listening on Twitch, come on over to the Discord, and that'll be the right spot to post those questions and join the conversation. We're excited.